600,000 rands. I want you to hold that number in your head. 600,000 rands. That is about 37 to 38,000 US dollars. That is what witnesses described as an alleged loyalty bonus inside one of South Africa's largest municipalities. 600,000 rands. That is what witnesses at the commission alleged a top legal official received, and that this was linked to alleged inaction as a disciplinary case tied to corruption allegations was allowed to lapse. Today, the man at the center of that accusation sat in a chair at the Madlanga Commission. He denied the allegations, but what he admitted and what he could not explain raises serious questions. If you are here for the first time, hit that subscribe button. We are not going to stop digging. And if this video makes you think, drop a like. It helps more people see this. Let's go. Before we get into what happened today, you need context. On July 13, 2025, President Cyril Ramaphosa announced a judicial commission of inquiry. On July 23, it was formally established by proclamation. It is led by retired Constitutional Court Justice Mbuyiseli Madlanga. Its mission is to investigate something terrifying: criminal infiltration, political interference, and corruption inside South Africa's criminal justice system.
So those are some of the issues I captured. And then Stein's one for me was very glaring in terms of Stein also said a separate statement where he says that there was no blue lights. There was no blue lights fitted on the vehicles. Now, I do know that the vehicles were transferred to the city of Ekurhuleni. I think it was for a day or two until Brigadier Peace raised certain concerns and overturned that. But there was a transfer for a minimal period. So the cost there, which was a lot of later saw, was about 200 rand per vehicle to transfer the vehicles. But the entire process, if you go into the process of that, it's more than that. Transferring the vehicles is one thing, and showing the documents. You're not even showing for vehicles that are older than 3 years. Where's a certificate of acceptability or certificate of compliance? You know, your roadworthy certificates. Where are these documents? Because if you go into an open environment here, and where there's a shop steward or attendants on the other side, these will be issues that I think. So are we not putting ourselves at risk in terms of we're going ahead with it? We're not investigating the other role players. Even the chief, your statement about what you knew of that. I saw a letter where you say, I think it was Chair, and I'll be corrected. There was a letter dated the 31st of March 2023, 2022. That was after the State of the City. Sorry, State of the City was 22. The next day, after the chief observed all of these issues, he wrote a letter, I think, to Mzolo. Mzolo was the direct in charge of Brigadier Mkhwanazi. And I could not see anything to say, but Mzolo, I want a full meeting. I want to know what is happening here, because the State of City address, you can't ask somebody for a written response. There should have been an engagement and to say, bring all the parties together. I want to know, because what would have happened had one of those snipers killed one of the people attending there? And we know now from the evidence here, Ekurhuleni is becoming a place of peace, but unfortunately, what is happening in Ekurhuleni is not. So these are some of my concerns that I've raised here, because then I will have a separate claim to deal with if somebody was killed, even if the executive mayor was killed. So, and my concern was, but did you only rely on a operational plan, which has now been stated to be said it was forged? But when the other engagements from at least 2 weeks, a month before, 2 weeks before, a week before, and daily before the SOCA, that I would think is when you're applying your full powers. So hence, Commissioner Baloyi, sorry, in that long-winded thing, but to show that it was not a matter of just saying, Brigadier did this, he donated vehicles, he brought donations in, he put it blue lights. This was, for me, look at the full landscape of what we're dealing with. We're dealing with serious implications from CAT VIP services, from Medicare 24, and how they even got, even COVID-19. If they were involved in COVID-19, there was a program run by HR. Because in terms of the staff letters that go off, those were all dealt with between HR and the department involved. So, Chair, I just want to move on then for the purpose of, but I think we've got the crux of what I'm trying to achieve. Gwabe as well didn't take the responsibility he should have on page 14, paragraph 58, Chair. He ought to have sent it back to Brigadier and said, no, follow the process. But apparently those cadets would not have qualified. It would have caused a different problem if that happened. So, Chair, on page 15, page 68, with that, I totally reject the fact that I pressured him to hand over the docket and stopped all processes. The next time the docket was referred to was when there was a BX mail, a Bixi email, and then the forensic investigators got involved. I raised that because I am the Deputy Information Officer in terms of POPIA. And if there was credibility, bring forward, even if it's to council, send it through. But when you start to do that, and if later on, if time permits or as unpermitted, Chair, we can go into the details of the BX email. But what I did was raise my concerns as a Deputy Information Officer to the Office of City Manager. She called in the Chief Audit Executive at that stage, and then they proceeded further with the appointment of that. But, Chair, I don't get offended if a department head doesn't take my opinion. Because they do that with a full understanding that I will not be called in to defend the position later on.
It started with a bombshell. KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner Mzansi Mkhwanazi publicly accused senior police officials and politicians of colluding with criminal cartels, drug trafficking, tender fraud, contract killings, and then it got worse. Now, before we go further, I need you to keep two names straight. Mzansi Mkhwanazi is the KwaZulu-Natal Provincial Police Commissioner. He is the one who blew the whistle. Julius Mkhwanazi is a completely different person. He is the suspended Deputy Chief of the Ekurhuleni Metro Police Department. Same last name. Very different roles. Very different sides of this story. One name kept surfacing. Vusimuzi Kat Matlala, described by investigators as a suspected underworld figure, referred to in commission testimony as an alleged leader of what has been called the Big Five cartel, and the man at the center of what witnesses have called the blue light scandal inside the Ekurhuleni Metro Police Department. Here is the deal. In South Africa, blue flashing lights and sirens are reserved for emergency and law enforcement vehicles only. Period. Anyone who fits blue lights on a private vehicle is committing a crime. But according to testimony at the commission, suspended EMPD Deputy Chief Julius Mkhwanazi allegedly signed 2 memorandums of understanding in October of 2021. Those documents reportedly created an arrangement between the Ekurhuleni Metro Police and Kat Matlala's companies, Kat VIP Protection Services, and Medicare 24. The result, according to reports presented at the commission, Matlala's private vehicles were registered under the municipality's name, fitted with blue lights, and driven around as if they were official police cars.
That apparently cost R3.20 each, but that Transnet was buying for 152 Rand each, which is insane. Now, 3 people were arrested for killing SWAT. One of those 3 people is Michael Puletau, a former detective. How crazy is that? Now, he was released, Michael Puletau, on a dodgy bail. Now, Mkhwanazi says that there were warnings that the team investigating this case were in danger and that investigating officers were offered bribes to not oppose Michael Puletau's bail, and that high-level SAPS officials also got involved in the case, which made the investigating team feel threatened, and that the investigating team struggled to get key information from other SAPS services that they needed to investigate the case. Now, if Mkhwanazi is right, that sounds like high-level meddling in this corruption and murder case. Mkhwanazi says that because of this weird mess, crime intelligence boss Dumisani Khumalo requested that the political killings task team get involved. According to Mkhwanazi, on 30 December last year, the investigators got a ballistics report that linked guns used in Swart's murder to other high-profile cases under investigation, and the very next day, Mkhunu ordered that the task team be disbanded. The very next day. And all of that was just day one of the commission, people. That was just Wednesday.
But that is not even the worst part. According to evidence presented at the commission, those agreements would have outsourced critical city functions: blue light services, legal services, health services, mayoral VIP protection, even blood testing at roadblocks, all to companies allegedly linked to a businessman who, according to court records, faces charges including attempted murder. When Mkhwanazi was finally confronted at the commission in December of 2025, he made a statement that caught everyone's attention. He said, "I cannot afford to go to jail and leave my kids."
Owned a vehicle before and I've transferred a vehicle to somebody else before.
No, I'm saying on these papers, I agree on that.
You need this document
Yes,
to facilitate
yes,
the transfer.
yes.
And these documents you would have obtained from Mr. Ket Matlala.
Oh, yes, this
And
is so.
you would have then given them to Christine as part of the bundle that he needed to change the ownership of the vehicles from Ket
Yes.
Services to EMPD.
You're 100% correct.
Yes.
Yes.
So, whatever language that is used, whether it's facilitation or assistance, this is what you did.
Yes. A facilitation, yes. Facilitation
We don't
is
need to
saving.
fight about this.
Facilitation is saving prison. Commissioners, you are there. I can't agree to leave my kids and go to jail for something that I didn't do. I didn't put blue lights. I must say, I can't.
Nobody had mentioned jail. The commissioners had to remind him. This is an inquiry, not a trial. But many observers noted that his reaction raised questions about why jail was on his mind when the commission had not suggested it. Now here comes the central question of this entire video. In February of 2024, Mkhwanazi was suspended. The Independent Police Investigative Directorate, known as IPID, had recommended disciplinary action based on its findings. By May of 2024, the suspension was about to expire. Colonel Henny Erasmus, from the EMPD's Integrity and Standards Unit, went to one man for legal guidance on extending it. That man was Advocate Khemraj Behari, head of Legal and Risk Services for the city of Ekurhuleni, and this is where everything falls apart. According to Behari's own testimony today, February 9, 2026, he told Erasmus that there were evidentiary gaps. He said he could not draft the legal notice to extend the suspension until those gaps were closed. Meetings were delayed, discussions stalled, and then the suspension expired.
From what we're getting at the moment, the status quo is such that it can never stand on its own. It runs a risk of political infiltration, and it will still run a risk of political infiltration. Hence, most analysts, most scholars would then advise for urgent institutional reform or urgent independent oversight that will then deal away with some of the issues that we're talking about, and also urgent policy amendments, because some of the overstepping, the infiltration emanate from existing policies, right? So then it suggests that on its own, with everything that is on the table, SAPS cannot stand on its own, cannot defend itself, because it will always have a minister who will then come in as a political appointment without knowledge of the existing policies in law enforcement. And those cadre deployment will always have a problem, will always have have a challenge, but then to safeguard the institution, a reform is required, a reform that will have in mind some of the issues that we're currently debating on, your constitutional power struggle, the powers that be, who's supposed to do what at what particular time, then who appoints a minister, who appoints a commissioner, things like that. So then it will require an urgent reform. It will require an independent oversight body that will be beefed up to be able to then deal away with some of the issues at hand.
Justice Madlanga, the commission's chairperson, cut straight to the bone. He told Behari directly, "Effectively, you let the suspension expire." Behari admitted it. He said, in hindsight, he should have supported the extension. But here is the problem. Hindsight does not undo what happened next. After the suspension expired, according to Behari's own words, the matter was never raised again until recently. Let that sink in. A senior police official facing allegations of signing irregular deals with a businessman described by authorities as a suspected underworld figure, accused of facilitating the registration of private vehicles as municipal assets, accused of enabling what witnesses called illegal blue light installations, and after the suspension lapsed, according to the testimony, nobody followed up. Not the head of legal, not the city manager, not human resources, and it gets worse. 3 months after the EMPD report recommended disciplinary action, according to reports, Mkhwanazi was promoted to deputy chief. By 2024, he was acting as head of the entire EMPD. According to reports, the official who had been under investigation received a promotion. Now let's talk numbers, because in cases like these, following the money trail often reveals important details. According to testimony at the commission, Mkhwanazi admitted to receiving payments from Cat Matlala. According to bank records presented as evidence, 3 deposits were made into his account. 20,000 rands from Cat VIP in May of 2022, another 20,000 from Medicare 24 in June of 2022, and 30,000 from Black AK, a company linked to Matlala, in December of 2022. That is 70,000 rands total in documented payments. In his testimony, Mkhwanazi said the money was for petrol, food, and funeral expenses. He described Matlala as his blood brother. He denied the payments were bribes. Meanwhile, witnesses at the commission alleged that Behari received a 600,000 rand salary increase that they described as a loyalty bonus, claiming it was given in exchange for blocking disciplinary action against Mkhwanazi. Behari categorically denied this today. He said the raise reflected expanded responsibilities. He called the allegation shocking and astonishing. But the commission's chairperson pressed further. Madlanga pointed out that Behari submitted a very lengthy written statement, but never mentioned the role of human resources in handling the suspension extension. He only brought up HR when he could not answer the commissioner's questions. In Madlanga's words, "You mention HR for the first time because you cannot answer the questions that we are putting to you. This is bigger than one person." According to various witness testimonies at the commission, here is the pattern that has emerged. Mkhwanazi allegedly signed the agreements with Matlala's companies. According to witness testimony, former city manager Imogen Mashazi allegedly told officials to leave Mkhwanazi alone. She later admitted at the commission that she did not pay much attention to the EMPD report. She said she relied almost entirely on Behari's legal opinion, and that opinion characterized the report as vague and insufficient.
With subordinates who were vulnerable to his abuse of power, including conduct amounting to sexual harassment, coercion, and rape. I will address this when I deal with question 10? Question 9, where I was requested to submit his suspension letter. Is it 10?
I think if you go overleaf at page 9,
This page 9,
the last
Those
sentence
are
of that first paragraph, you reference question 13 of the statement, yes.
All right. The pattern of behavior described is deeply troubling and reflects a systematic abuse of authority by the chief of police. And he used to call them amangilos. He calls them amangilos, like angels. Those who are angels, these are the ones who are actually promoted. And if you look at the promotion of Tepa, who actually testified here, you can see that she was promoted within a short period of time as compared to others who have more qualifications, who were there before her, who were appointed before her as EMPD officials. So for me, this kind of practice gave me sleepless nights. And I feel that with the program that I created, at least it alleviated some pressure from these women. But there are those who are actually part of the whole thing, whom he called angels or amangilos.
HR head Linda Jasheka was also named by witnesses. According to testimony, she allegedly resisted taking action against Mkhwanazi, and Behari, as head of legal, according to reports, sat on the IPID report for more than 2 years without implementing its recommendations. All three, Mkhwanazi, Behari, and Jasheka, have been suspended. And today, Behari went further. He named DJ Sbu Leope, and TK Nchiza, Thembinkosi Nchiza, alleging they had financial dealings connected to the broader Ekurhuleni controversy. He did not give full details, but maintained that a financial trail raised red flags. These names surprised the public because they are well-known entertainment figures. Neither has been charged with any wrongdoing. A video clip was also presented at the commission months earlier. In it, Mkhwanazi is seen telling his boss, Mashazi, "We will die for you. I will take a bullet for you." This was in December of 2023. The same month he was promoted.
Which part of the remarks, of the two, you've said there's a part where I think we'll die for you, and there's I will take a bullet for you. Which part is he, if any of the two, if it's any of the two?
It's my understanding is that he speaks, "We will die for you, I will take a bullet for you." She responds, "Thank you." He continues then, but by the time he continues, his voice is muffled out by the response of the crowd. But she responded after the two statements.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Ms. Angiza, you've repeatedly stated in the context of your evidence about a proximity between Brigadier Mkhwanazi and the city manager. Having played that video, would you care to comment on that proximity in the context of that video?
Thank you, Commissioners. What is clear in my mind is that we have a situation here where between February 2023 and December 2023, the dynamic has changed. The situation concerning Mkhwanazi has totally changed in the municipality. February, allegations are submitted, investigation is conducted. In June, the serving of charges is stopped. In August, there is the meeting that was held with the management of EMPD, where indeed Mkhwanazi indicated that certain people are de facto chiefs of police. We don't have a chief of police and all sorts of things. The chief of police gets put on special leave, and then in the meantime, Mzolo goes on retirement while Xolani gets suspended. One of the de facto chiefs of police gets suspended. The actual chief of police is put on special leave. And then what you have is Mkhwanazi who gets promoted. A few weeks thereafter, there is this. Mkhwanazi then expresses his gratitude, his loyalty, and all sorts of things to say, "You know what? I will die for you."
And then there is the part nobody can ignore. In November of 2025, a man known as Witness D testified at the commission. His real name was Marius van der Merwe. He was a former police reservist. In his testimony, he alleged that Mkhwanazi ordered the disposal of a body of a suspect who had allegedly been killed by EMPD officers. Mkhwanazi has denied these allegations. Weeks after his testimony, Van der Merwe was shot outside his home in Brakpan on Friday, December 5, 2025, in front of his family. The circumstances of his killing remain under investigation. According to reports, anonymous sources said Van der Merwe had been speaking about his mission to expose state officials allegedly involved in illegal mining. The individuals he had named were reportedly not pleased about his appearance at the commission. President Ramaphosa released a statement offering condolences and pledging to protect whistleblowers. But for Van der Merwe, the pledge came too late. So here is where I need you to think with me. First, was the expiration of Mkhwanazi's suspension simply negligence, or was it deliberate? Behari says it was never his intention, but the commission chair was clearly skeptical. The timeline raises uncomfortable questions. The inaction was total. Second, who decided that the IPID report was not enough? The report recommended disciplinary action. It detailed allegations of fraud, allegedly irregular agreements, vehicles reportedly registered under the city's name without authorization. And yet, the head of legal characterized it as vague. The city manager said she did not pay attention. HR took no steps. Was this a systemic failure, or was it something else? Third, who knew Mkhwanazi's schedule? Who knew when the suspension was about to expire? And why did nobody, not one person in the chain, take the simple step of signing an extension? And the question that looms over all of this, a witness who testified about these events was killed weeks later. No arrests have been made in connection with his death. What does that say about the risks of speaking out? And what does it say about the system that was supposed to protect him? The Madlanga Commission is not done. Behari is expected to continue his testimony tomorrow. More witnesses are coming. The Commission's interim report has already been submitted to President Ramaphosa, and the full findings could reshape how South Africa polices its own police. But right now, as we speak, what began as a serious disciplinary case was allowed to collapse. A suspension expired. A report gathered dust. A promotion was handed out. And a whistleblower is dead. 600,000 rands. That is what this has allegedly cost in just one salary increase. What do you think it really cost the people of Ekurhuleni? Tell me in the comments. And if you want to follow every twist of the Madlanga Commission, subscribe and turn on notifications. Because this story is far from over.